So, we begin with a paradox. A very funny paradox, really. I'm going to talk to you using a great many words, weaving quite a complex web of language, for the express purpose of convincing you that words are entirely beside the point. I'm going to make a great deal of noise to tell you that silence is the only thing that you can actually trust. Now, this isn't just a clever trick. It is the fundamental problem of our civilization. It is the root of your anxiety, your feeling of alienation, and that peculiar, nagging sense that life is a problem to be solved rather than an experience to be had. You see, we live in a culture that is almost entirely hypnotic. We are hypnotized by symbols. We are hypnotized by the sound of our own voices, and even more so by the sound of the voice inside our heads. That internal chatterbox, the one that comments on everything you do, everything you see, everything you feel. You walk down the street and you see a tree, but you don't really see the tree. You say to yourself, that is an oak tree. It is green. It is large. You label it. You file it away. And in the moment you have named it, you have ceased to see it. You have replaced the living, vibrating reality of the tree with the dead, static symbol of the word tree. And we do this with everything. We do it with ourselves. We tell ourselves a story about who we are. I am a doctor. I am a failure. I'm a good person. I'm anxious. We build a scaffolding of words and concepts, and then we climb inside it and wonder why we feel trapped. We wonder why life feels dry, why it feels like we're eating the menu instead of the dinner. The menu is very useful. You see, it tells you what is available, but the menu has no flavor. You cannot get nourishment from eating the paper, and yet we are a civilization that is perpetually chewing on the menu, starving to death while surrounded by a banquet, because we have confused the symbol with the reality. This is why I say that silence is the only voice that does not lie, because words, by their very nature, must lie. Now, I don't mean that they are malicious. I don't mean that you are intentionally deceiving yourself. I mean that language operates by a process of fragmentation. To name something, you must cut it out of the background. To say light, you must imply dark. To say self, you must imply other. To say here, you must distinguish it from there. Language chops the universe into little bite-sized pieces so that the intellect can chew on them. It is a butcher's art, and it is a very skillful art. It allows us to build bridges and perform surgery and write contracts. But the universe itself, the physical reality in which you live and breathe and have your being, is not chopped up. The universe does not come in bits and pieces. It is a flow. It is a wiggle. It is a continuous, undifferentiated process. The shore implies the ocean. The ocean implies the shore. They are not two things. They are one event. The trough implies the crest of the wave. You cannot have a wave with only crests. That's not a wave. That's a catastrophe. But words tell you that crest is good and trough is bad. Words tell you that life is distinct from death. Words tell you that you are distinct from the universe. And that is the lie. That is the great social fiction that keeps you feeling small and frightened and alone. So, when we settle into silence, and I don't just mean the absence of audible noise, though that helps. I mean the silence of the mind, the suspension of judgment, the suspension of labeling. When we do that, we begin to encounter the world as it actually is. Think about listening to music. When you listen to a symphony, you don't listen in order to reach the end. The point of the composition isn't the final chord. If it were, the best conductors would be the ones who played the fastest, and the best composers would be those who wrote only finales. No, the point of music is the music itself. It is the dancing. It is the unfolding. But we treat life as if it were a journey with a destination. We are always trying to get somewhere else. We are always trying to get to the future. We want to finish school so we can go to college. We want to finish college so we can get a job. We want to get a job so we can get a promotion. We want the promotion so we can retire. And then we want to retire so we can, well, wait to die, I suppose. And all the while, we are missing the music. We are so busy talking about where we are going, describing the path, complaining about the obstacles, that we never actually hear the melody. Silence is the art of listening to the music of life without trying to write a review of it in your head. It is a difficult art, mind you, because the ego, That funny little hallucination you call I, the ego thrives on noise. The ego is made of noise. It is made of your history, your memories, your labels, your opinions. If you stop thinking, if you stop talking to yourself, if you stop defining yourself for just one moment, who are you? That is the terror. That is why we keep the radio on. That is why we check our phones. That is why we fill every spare moment with distraction. Because we are terrified that if the noise stops, we will stop. And in a sense, you are right. The you that you think you are, the collection of ideas, the resume, the personality, that will stop. But what remains? What is there in the silence when the story drops away? That is the question we must explore. Because what remains is not nothing. It is not a vacuum. It is the very ground of being. It is the thing that was there before you were born and will be there after you die. It is the consciousness that is looking out of your eyes right now, before you had a name for it. Consider the nature of the physical world. Look at a cloud. Can you criticize a cloud? Can you say that cloud is misshapen? It should be a little more to the left. It's too fluffy in the middle. No. You look at a cloud and you accept it as a marvel of nature. It is simply being a cloud. It is doing what clouds do. It has no cloud ego trying to be a better cloud than the one next to it. Look at a cat. A cat is absolute emotional honesty. A cat does not pretend to like you if it does not like you. A cat does not worry about its career. A cat sits when it is tired, eats when it is hungry, and purrs when it is content. The cat is living in the truth of the moment. But you're worrying about whether you should be sitting or whether you should be working. You're worrying about whether you are hungry or just bored. You're worrying about whether you are happy or just distracted. You are constantly double-checking your own experience against a set of words, against a script you have been given by society. Am I successful? Am I lovable? Am I doing this right? These are all questions asked by the voice of a lie, the voice of separation. The silence does not ask these questions. The silence simply is. And this is where we begin to touch upon the secret. The secret that the mystics of all ages and all traditions have been trying to whisper to us, usually in very confusing poetry. The secret is that the world you are looking for, the peace, the clarity, the sense of belonging, is not something you have to find. It is not something you have to achieve. It is not something you have to build. It is what is already there underneath the noise. It is like a mirror covered in dust. You don't have to paint a reflection onto the mirror. You don't have to teach the mirror how to reflect. You simply have to wipe away the dust. And the dust is the chatter. The dust is the belief that you are separate from the universe, that you're a little lonely ego inside a bag of skin, fighting a hostile world. That is the noise. Let's go deeper into this. Let's look at how this noise creates time, and how silence brings us back to the eternal now. Because time, as we understand it, is another fiction of language. We have this idea of the past, and we have this idea of the future, and we live almost entirely in them. The past is a memory, a trace in the brain. The future is an expectation, a fantasy. Neither of them exists. You have never experienced the past. You experienced the present moment when it was the present, and you will never experience the future. When it comes, it will be the present. So there's only this moment, this breath, this sensation. But the voice in your head, the liar, tells you this isn't enough. It says, I'll be happy when I get the raise, when I get the lover, when I get the house, when I get the enlightenment. It is always deferred. It is always later. Silence cuts through that. Silence brings you right smack up against the reality of now. And that can be uncomfortable, because in the now, you cannot hide. You cannot hide in your memories of how great you used to be, and you cannot hide in your fantasies of how great you will become. You are just here, vulnerable, open, and this is why silence is the only voice that does not lie, because it forces you to confront the only thing that is actually real, your immediate experience. But what happens when you stop fighting? What happens when you stop trying to smooth the rough waters of your mind with a flat iron? You know, you can't smooth water with a flat iron. You only disturb it more. The only way to smooth the water is to leave it alone, to let be. So how do we let it be? How do we find this silence? without turning the search for silence into just another noisy project of the ego. I must be silent. I must stop thinking. That's just more noise, isn't it? It's the police officer shouting at the crowd to be quiet. We must approach it differently. We must approach it with a sense of play, with a sense of curiosity, not as a discipline to be mastered, but as a reality to be noticed. You see, if you try to stop your thinking, you are still thinking. You are thinking about stopping your thinking. It is like trying to lift yourself up off the ground by pulling on your own bootstraps. It is like a thief trying to police the ground floor of a house while he is robbing the second floor. The ego, the I that is trying to get rid of the noise, is the noise. So you can't force it. You cannot muscle your way into peace. The moment you make silence a goal, a trophy to be won, you have lost it. You have turned it into another object of desire, another carrot on a stick to keep the donkey moving. Instead, you must simply listen. And I mean listen to everything. Listen to the hum of the traffic outside. Listen to the wind in the eaves. Listen to the creaking of the floorboards. But, and here's the trick, do not name what you hear. Do not say, that is a car. Do not say, that is a bird. Just let the sound hit your eardrums as a pure vibration. Let it be what it is, a wiggle in the air. And then listen to the noise inside your head in exactly the same way. Treat your own thoughts as if they were noises outside. Treat your worry about tomorrow like the honking of a horn. Treat your regret about yesterday like the barking of a dog. Don't push them away. Don't say, shut up. Just hear them. Acknowledge them. Oh, look, there's the I am not good enough thought again. How fascinating. It's making its little noise. When you do this, when you stand back and watch the mind without getting involved in the argument, a very strange thing happens. The noise begins to settle, not because you forced it to, but because you're no longer feeding it with your resistance. You're no longer fighting waves with waves. You're letting the muddy water stand until the mud sinks to the bottom and the water becomes clear. And in this clarity, we come face to face with the most pervasive lie of all, the lie of control. We are obsessed with control. We are terrified that if we do not hold the reins of life tight, everything will fall apart. We think we're the pilots of this body, the captains of this soul. We believe there's a little man, a little homunculus sitting inside our heads, behind the eyes, pulling levers and pushing buttons. I decide to lift my hand. I decide to beat my heart. I decide to digest my food. But you don't do any of that, do you? Did you decide how to grow your hair? Did you sit down with a blueprint and figure out how to knit your bones together in the womb? Do you know intellectually exactly which enzymes are being secreted in your stomach right now to digest your lunch? Of course not. If you had to think about how to beat your heart, you would be dead in 5 minutes. You would get distracted by a pretty girl or a loud noise. You forget to pump, and poof, that's the end of you. The vast majority of your life, the most essential, vital parts of your existence, is happening entirely without your permission, without your conscious control, and without your understanding. You are being lived by an intelligence far greater than your conscious ego. You are a process that is happening just as the clouds are happening, just as the waves are happening. But the voice, the liar, tells you that you must be in charge. It tells you that life is a hostile place, a mechanical, dead universe, and you are a fluke of consciousness trapped inside it, and you must fight to survive. You must dominate nature. You must conquer the environment. You must beat your competitors. And so we spend our whole lives tense. We are physically tense, holding our muscles tight, ready for a fight that never comes. We are mentally tense, holding our concepts tight, defending our opinions as if they were our flesh and blood. And silence? Silence is the opposite of tension. Silence is the release of the clutch. When you trust the silence, you are essentially saying, I trust the universe. You are saying, I trust the water to hold me up. You know, if you try to swim by panic and thrashing, you sink. You swallow water and you drown. But if you relax, if you fill your lungs and lean back, the water holds you. It has always been ready to hold you, but you have to trust it. You have to let go. This is why the voice of the world creates so much anxiety, because it is the voice of distrust. Every advertisement you see, every news report you watch, is designed to make you feel that you are lacking, that you are in danger, that you need to do something to be okay. Buy this car. Vote for this person. Insure your life. Fix your face. The silence tells you, you're already okay. You are exactly where you need to be. You are a manifestation of the divine energy of the cosmos, playing the game of being a person for a little while. There is nothing to fix because there was never anything broken. Now, I can hear the objection rising in your mind. The logical mind is very good at objections. It says, but Alan, this is all very nice, very poetic. But if I just sit in silence and trust the universe, I'll starve. I won't go to work. I'll become a bum. Someone has to pay the bills. And here we touch on the balance. I am not saying you should lie down in the road and wait for a truck to hit you, because all is one. That is not wisdom. That is stupidity. You still chop wood and carry water, as the Zen saying goes. You still go to work. You still pay your bills. But you do it in a different spirit. You do it as a dance, not as a desperate struggle for survival. You do it playfully. When you act from silence, your actions are more effective, not less. Think of a master swordsman, or a tennis player, or a jazz musician. When they are performing at their peak, are they thinking? Are they talking to themselves? Okay, now I must move my arm 30 degrees to the right and apply force. No, if they think, they lose. The action flows out of them spontaneously. The sword moves by itself. The music plays itself. They are in the zone. They are in the flow state. The separation between the doer and the deed has vanished. This is the state of silence in motion. It is what the Taoists call Wu Wei, effortless action. Action that is not forced. Action that is in alignment with the grain of the universe. When you force things, when you go against the grain, you get splinters. When you try to force a relationship, it breaks. When you try to force sleep, you become an insomniac. When you try to force happiness, you become miserable. The silence allows you to feel the grain. It allows you to sense the current of the river so that you can steer your boat with it, rather than rowing until your heart bursts trying to go upstream. But there is a deeper reason we avoid the silence. A darker reason. We avoid silence because silence looks like nothingness, and nothingness looks like death. We are a civilization that is terrified of the void. We want things to be solid. We want things to be filled. Look at our architecture. We fill every space. Look at our schedules. We fill every hour. Look at our minds. We fill every second. We equate empty with useless or bad. But let's look at that. Is emptiness useless? Look at a window. What makes the window useful? Is it the glass? Is it the frame? Or is it the empty space that allows the light to come through and allows you to see the world? Without the emptiness, it's just a wall. Look at a bowl. You cannot put soup in a block of wood. You need the hollow. You need the empty space inside to hold the soup. The usefulness of the bowl lies in its emptiness. Look at a room. You don't live in the walls. You live in the empty space between them. So, space, emptiness, silence, the void is not a negation of existence. It is the condition for existence. You cannot have sound without silence. You cannot have form without space. You cannot have something without nothing. They go together. They are two sides of the same coin. But we want the something without the nothing. We want life without death. We want pleasure without pain. We want the sound without the silence. And because we reject the silence, because we run from the void, we make our lives shallow. We lack depth, because depth is the void. Depth is the mystery. When you look into the eyes of another person, really look, you are looking into a mystery. You're looking into an infinite well. If you reduce them to a label, my wife, my boss, my enemy, you have filled the void with a word. You have made them safe. You have made them boring. But if you stay with the silence, if you look without labeling, you see the divine spark. You see the terror and the beauty of a living consciousness. That is why silence is the only voice that does not lie. Because it admits the mystery. It admits that we do not know. And in that not knowing, there is tremendous freedom. Think of the relief of admitting, I don't know. I don't know what life is for. I don't know what happens after death. I don't know who I am. The ego is terrified of those sentences. But the spirit soars. Because if you don't know what you are, You can be anything. You are undefined. You are limitless. When you define yourself, you can find yourself. When you say, I am this kind of person, you have built a cage. When you remain in the silence, you remain in the open field. So, if we stop running from the silence, and if we stop trying to fill the void with our frantic busy work and our chatter, we come to a realization that changes everything. And it is this: you're not a stranger in this world. You're not a biological puppet thrown into a cold, empty room. You are the room. You are the light. You are the silence itself. This is the great discovery. When you go deep enough into the silence, you find that the you thought you were, Mr. So-and-so, with a social security number instead of neuroses, is just a mask, is a role you are playing. And a very convincing role, I might add. The universe is a fantastic actor. It plays the part of a poor, struggling human being so well that it actually believes it is the poor, struggling human being. This is what the Hindus call the Leela, the play, the cosmic sport, the Godhead, the Brahman, the ultimate reality. Whatever word you want to use for the IT that is behind it all, is playing hide and seek with itself. It pretends to be you. It pretends to be me. It pretends to be the tree and the star and the beetle. And why? Because being the one, being the absolute, is rather lonely. It's rather static. To have life, to have vibration, to have joy, the one must divide itself into the many. It must forget who it is in order to have the surprise of remembering. And silence. Silence is the moment of remembering. Silence is when the actor takes a break backstage, takes off the mask, looks in the mirror, and laughs. Oh, my goodness, I really got lost in the character that time. I really thought I was in trouble. I really thought I was going to die. But the actor does not die when the character dies on stage. The silence does not die when the sound fades away. When you understand this, the fear of death begins to evaporate. Because what you are afraid of is the cessation of the noise. You are afraid that the story will end. And it will. The story of John Smith or Mary Jones will end. It has to. A melody must come to an end, or it isn't a melody. It's just a noise that goes on forever, which would be an unbearable torture. Death is simply the silence that frames the music of your life. It is the interval between the notes. And without that interval, there is no music. If you understand that you're not the melody, but the silence in which the melody is played, then you are free. You're the background. You're the canvas. The painting changes. Sometimes it is a tragedy, sometimes a comedy. Sometimes it is abstract and confusing, but the canvas remains. This is the voice that does not lie. The world tells you, you are the painting. You must be a beautiful painting. You must not fade. The silence tells you, you are the canvas. Let the paint flow where it will. So how we live with this? How do we walk around in the 20th century, or the 21st century, or whatever century it happens to be, with this knowledge? Do we become passive? Do we just sit on a rock and smile? No, we play the game, but we play it with a twinkle in our eye. We play it knowing it is a game. When you know life is a dance, you don't worry about where you are on the floor. You don't worry about getting to the end of the dance. You just dance. You swing your partner. You dip. You spin. If you stumble, you make it part of the step. You don't stop the music and apologize to the audience. You keep moving. You can still be a doctor or a bus driver or a parent, but you're no longer doing it to prove your existence. You're no longer doing it to justify your right to be here. You are doing it for the sheer delight of doing it. You're doing it as an expression of the silence, not as an escape from it. And you will find, paradoxically, that you become much more loving. Because when you're no longer trying to protect your little ego, when you're no longer seeing everyone else as a threat to your fragile identity, you can actually look at them. You can see that they are playing the same game. They are just the same as you, the divine hiding behind a mask of fear. And you can have compassion for the mask and love for the divinity behind it. So, I invite you now to conduct a small experiment. Not a task, not a duty, just a little exploration. For a moment, stop trying to understand what I'm saying. Stop trying to remember it. Stop trying to figure out if it is true or false. Just listen to the sound of my voice. And then listen to the silence that surrounds it. Listen to the silence between my words. That silence is not empty. That silence is intelligent. That silence is alive. And that silence is you. It is the you that was there before your parents gave you a name. It is the you that watches your dreams at night. It is the you that will be there when the sun burns out and the stars turn to dust. You are that vast, spacious, welcoming silence. And because you are that, you have nothing to fear. You can let go. You can let the breath breathe you. You can let the heart beat you. You can let life live you. Stop clutching the steering wheel. Take your hands off. Notice that the car is driving itself perfectly well. It knows the way. The universe knows the way. It has been growing galaxies and flowers and babies for billions of years without a single committee meeting, without a single plan, without a single word. Trust it. Trust the silence. It is the only thing that has ever been true.